Welcome to the Healthy Brain Podcast. Today's episode, I am interviewing Susan Schull. She's a faith-based life coach, podcast host of the Clean Heart Club, and trusted guide for women seeking clarity, courage, and joy in midlife. She believes you are never too old, too stuck, or too late for a new beginning. So, welcome to the podcast, Susan.
Heather, I'm so tickled to be here with you and to learn. I want to learn from you about the healthy brain. So hopefully this will be a two-way street here.
Oh, wonderful. I always like to throw in a few things here and there. So, that is great. Well, thank you for joining me this
Thank you for
afternoon.
inviting me.
Yes, of course. And let's start off with tell me a little bit about what led you to become a life coach.
It was kind of a shock to me that this came into my life. Years ago, I was at a She Speaks conference, which I don't know if you're familiar with that, but Lisa Turkhurst puts it on. It's through Proverbs 31. And I was down there I actually went 2 different years. The first year I went for the writing track, and the second year for the speaking track. And God has such a sense of humor because I did the speaking track saying, I never intend to speak in public. I'm just doing this because I went to support a friend. And since I had already done the writing thing, I thought I'll just do the speaking thing, never knowing what God, He knew what was coming for me. And now I get to do a fair amount of speaking. But anyway, while we were there, I met some fabulous women. And one of them that I really clicked with, she told me that she was a life coach. And that was the first time I had ever heard the term. And I was like smiling and polite, but on the inside, I was like snickering and thinking, who needs a life coach and what qualifies somebody to be a life coach? And then I don't need a life coach, do I? Also, never realizing that I was going to become one. But a few years later, I was introduced to Dr. Edie through essential oils. And once I got into her sphere of influence and she got her life coach certification and she opened up life mentoring school 6.5 years ago. And I jumped on board and have never looked back. And when she offered coach certification, I signed up for it, not because I intended to be a life coach. I didn't, but because I wanted to be healed from anything that God wanted to heal me from. And I had just benefited so much from what I had already learned. I thought, oh, well, if you become certified, it'll just be another layer deeper. So I signed up and here I am with now I'm master coach certified life coach and a full practice, as many clients as I want, and getting to do all these fabulous things. So it
Yes.
turns it turns out that when scripture says that we can be transformed by the renewing of our mind, that it's true that God really does want to give us a new mind.
Truly. Well, and that's such an interesting, I didn't know that first part of it's true. Like when you first hear about a life coach, you're like, oh, yeah, right. And back then, like quite a few years ago, it wasn't as popular as it is now. And it's still people even question, like, what is really a life coach? But once you learn and once you try, and use some of the tools. And yes, you recently did get the master coach certified, and this led you to write your book.
Yes. So, as part of our master coach certification, one of the things we were invited to do was a big project. And we got to choose from a podcast, which I already had, setting up a newsletter, which I already had, um, a social media group, which I already had. I had done everything already except write a book. So I thought, okay, this is my sign to write a book. So I did.
You did. And we're going to get into this, into some of the questions I have. It's an excellent book called
Oh, thank
Hello,
you.
You, Being Yourself in a World That Wants You to Be Everyone Else. So good. It's really, really good. I got all my little post-it notes here.
Tickles me.
I know it must be something. I mean, that is one thing I haven't done yet is to write a book. And I can say that I'm resistant in doing it because I'm like, oh, but it may happen at some point.
Oh my gosh, I think everyone should write a book because when you, well, I'm sure you've written enough things to that you realize that when you put things on paper, it helps you to realize what you're actually thinking and what you believe. And it was such a good, it was hard, don't get me wrong. And there were many times that I thought, why in the world didn't I just, Dr. Edie didn't know I did all that other stuff. I could have picked something I'd already done. I didn't have to do something so hard. But
You
now that it's
really,
done, I'm
really
so glad.
reinvented yourself with that.
I'm really glad I wrote it.
Yeah. And what a legacy to leave for your children and grandchildren.
I've already gotten the sweetest messages from our oldest granddaughter, and I mean she read it immediately, and it was worth everything I went through to write it, to have that conversation with her. So I'm so tickled.
To be able to give her some of the tools.
Yes, I want I have six granddaughters and one grandson. And, I hope Isaac reads it one day too. But those six granddaughters, if they can, this could save them a lot of headache and heartache if
Mhm.
they would just learn from grandma's errors
Yes,
and
yes.
experiences.
Well,
Oh,
and I want to share with the listeners how I came to find you, and it was through the LMS program, and I listened to I think it was some of the encounter groups. Now, I had already been certified as a health coach. And when I came into LMS, I decided to, after being in it for a while, I decided to become a certified Christian life coach with LMS. But you know what's interesting? I pushed aside the Christian part. And I just want the life stuff because I I am a Catholic, Christian, but through many circumstances had really pushed aside my faith. I still was somewhat there, but not really. But when in LMS, when they offered the Joyvember, when you did it the first year,
yes. Oh my goodness.
and I was like, okay, I love waking up early in the morning. I love my morning routine. So you would show up not November 1st through the 30th every morning. Well, pretty well every morning. I think it was every morning, right?
That first year I did it every
Every
morning. The
morning.
second year I stopped at Thanksgiving, but
Yes.
yeah.
And you just had such a gentle way of, okay, this is, and then you were so real in sharing what your struggles were. And then what you were reading, the passage, the psalm that was resonating with you, and you allowed us to have space to, and it's just a one way, right? We're typing in things, but Susan is just saying things one way. And then at one point you have like, and put your arms out and then give yourself a hug. And I still do that sometimes, but
Oh, I love it.
I know it was really at that point after doing 30 days of that, I was like, this is what's missing. Like I had the tools, I had all the things because I'm very much science orientated and action orientated. I had the mindset because that's our coaching with the life coaching, but I didn't have the faith and the trust and that part. And that's really where I
Oh my
started back
goodness.
to it because of
Oh
you.
my goodness. I cannot tell you how tickled that makes me, and how uh, it makes me love Jesus even more. He loves you, Heather, so much.
Yes, yes. And well, and you were the messenger, Susan. You really were the messenger there. But that's where you have a great way of communicating it with people. And even though we're on the screen, that genuine care. And I got to meet you just a couple of weeks ago at our coaching event, which was thrilling. You, of course, everybody knows Susan, and then you're like, who's who? And who are you?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Hey, I will just throw this out there. I don't know if your listeners might be interested, but I can send you a link. And I just did for my email list 5 guided meditations. So if they want to sign up, they would get 5 guided meditations sent to their
Yes,
every morning for 5 days. And then also in my Clean Heart Club Facebook group. Are you in there?
I am. Yes, I
Okay.
am.
Starting December, I think December 8th. I need to check exactly, but we're going to do Joy to the World in there, and I'm going to lead guided meditations every morning until Christmas. So
Fantastic.
I would
I'll
love
for
for
sure check
love for
that
your
out.
people to join me.
Yes, and it will be in the show notes, so people can find it there in the show notes to sign up for both of those, the Facebook group and then the meditations. Because speaking of meditations, it is one thing that I believe every single person should be practicing meditation, and not just like one type. You know, you have to find the type that resonates, but it is one practice that my patients and my clients, coaching clients, I recommend all the time to meditation. How has it helped you?
I got really interested in meditation when I was getting certified in to lead holy yoga because the whole practice became a moving meditation. So I actually wrote a course on meditation, which I need to get that out and do that again. And I learned that meditation is God's idea, that David meditated in the Old Testament, that I love Psalm 1, which of course I can't remember it right now, but I do have the first part of it memorized, but it's escaped me. But read Psalm 1. It's
Mhm.
all about meditation. And in Christian meditation, it's not about emptying your mind, it's about filling your mind with the truth. And the truth is all about how much God loves us and just everything in the Psalms. I love to pick a verse and just meditate on it. Last night I woke up in the middle of the night and I could not go back to sleep. And so I was just meditating on the Lord's Prayer and hallowed be thy name, hallowed be thy name, and breathing, hallowed be, inhale thy name, exhale. And it just became, it's relaxing. Well, you know, all the physical and spiritual, emotional benefits of it. It slows your heart rate and all of that. Yeah, I'm a big
Yeah.
fan.
Oh, that's great. I can't wait to check them out. I definitely will check out those meditations. And yeah, it's a different way. I know I've had discussions with people because I know you're a yoga teacher, holy yoga teacher. I'm trained in more of the traditional, this Eastern yoga, but I'm making it my own in bringing in my faith-based and also in a yoga therapy form as well. But I also think with the meditation that people are worried, especially Christians are worried about doing meditation because they think that they're taking on the secular, like the a different type of religion, when no, that's not what it is.
No,
I see it as like it's a time to convene and commune with God through the Holy Spirit.
it's a way to pray. It's
Mhm.
prayer. Can I grab my Bible?
Yes, yes, please.
There's a lot of verses in the Bible that have to do with meditation, but I love Psalm 1 and the promises of it. So I'll just read it. This is in the NIV.
Hmm.
No, it's not. It's in the NLT, which is the New Living Translation. Oh, the joys of those who do not follow the advice of the wicked, or stand around with sinners, or join in with mockers, but they delight in the law of the Lord, meditating on it day and night. They are like trees planted along the riverbank, bearing fruit each season. Their leaves never wither, and they prosper in all they do.
Yes.
That's the promise of meditating.
Hmm.
Meditating is God's idea.
Yeah. Yes. And that's where taking that a portion of and I'm not sure if you know the term, it may be more in the Catholic Saint Ignatian, but it's Lectio
Yes.
Divina. You've heard of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. I love that
Hmm.
practice. And
And
actually, I'm in the midst of a 9-month program of doing the Ignatian questions right now.
yeah,
It's
you are.
so good.
Isn't it something?
So good.
I haven't done the full fledged, but there's so much to they Saint Ignatius is really he was ahead of his time way back when. And
Mhm.
I think we can use a lot of what some of the philosophers, theologians have used in the past, and can make them more modern, but still stay true to our religion,
For
to our
sure, for
faith.
sure. And you do have to be, I always put a caveat about going to a secular yoga class. I've gone to some before that I felt very uncomfortable.
Yes, yes,
You have to be careful
yes.
because they're not all created equal, but
Yeah, thanks for saying that. True enough, because yes, I know myself that what I was practicing 10 years ago is definitely different than what I'm practicing now and how I lead if I am teaching. Although I usually just work with athletes now.
mhm.
But all right, well, let's move on to your book here. Now, we know why you wrote it because it was one of the things in the master coach training, but really, what made you choose the different topics that being yourself in a world that wants you to be everyone else?
This might sound kind of woo-woo to you. I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like God directed me to write this book. Before I even finished my coach certification, I was calling my lots of people call them discovery calls. I was calling them hello you calls. And it just kept coming back. And in the meantime, God had me on this journey of reading lots of C.S. Lewis, lots of Dallas Willard, lots of James Bryan Smith, those practice, I mean, just such practical, deep, philosophy driven believers. So this was just kind of my synthesis of what I just kind of took what I learned during all of that and it turned into this.
And it turned into it. Wonderful.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Well, I'd love to dive into a couple of the topics. And one is the brain benefits of gratitude. I read, and I remember you saying this even a couple of years ago that you had a gratitude journal, and in the book you mentioned you're over 27,000 entries. So tell me about the gratitude journal and also the brain benefits of practicing gratitude.
Uh, Something that has totally blown my mind and that I woke up to in the midst of all this was that everything that God invites us to do, science is now proving is good for our bodies and for our brains. God made us. He knows. He knows the best way for us to live. And it's just like,
Hmm.
it just blows my mind. So actually, this morning I wrote my 28,964th gratitude thing. So years ago, a lady in our church had a little journaling retreat. She has journaled for years and years and years and years. And I have had journaled some, but not regularly. But at that retreat, one of the ways of journaling that she offered to us was a gratitude journal. And I thought, I can do that. So I started, I don't even know how many years ago it's been now, and it's just turned into a daily practice. And I do it every morning before I pray and get into the scriptures. I just write down what comes to my mind that I'm grateful for from the day before. And it's not anything huge. It's just little stuff like um yesterday or this morning I wrote, I was thankful that I decided on a plan and I'm sticking with it, that I went to bed feeling a good tired, that we had a beautiful snow, that I woke up and felt God's love in the middle of the night, that Brad checked on me. I got up and because I couldn't sleep, and he woke up and he came and checked on me. Um, and I got some clarity about something. It's just stuff that feels like a blessing to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's all kinds of evidence now. You're probably more aware of it than I am, that being grateful changes our brain
Hmm.
and in amazing ways. And actually, well, worship does too.
Yes, that was another area. So in the book, you really just like there's one or two paragraphs in the different sections where you just share the research. And so with the worship and prayer, I was really amazed. I didn't know realize that certain worship or worshiping could, and that prayer. And is it the verbal worshiping? Like, are we talking Baptist, like above the head, kind of like woo woo?
Worship is in the eye of the beholder.
Hmm.
You can worship, and this is my opinion. I can worship and not say a word. I can worship on a walk. I can worship. I like to sing, and I love singing in church. That's worship to me. I loved car church, where
Hmm.
it's just me and the Lord and some really good worship music. That's all worship. But I'm sure you're familiar with Dr. Carolyn Lee.
Yes, yes. She's
And
actually a speech pathologist, which I'm a
oh,
speech pathologist. She
really?
calls it because is she from Australia or New Zealand or
I
South
think, yeah.
African? South African, maybe. I can't remember. They call it communication specialist, like a cognitive
Okay.
communication. But yes, uh,
She's done a ton of research,
yes.
and she says that there's a protein in our brain that is they've scientifically shown that it increases during worship, and that protein supports brain health and growth.
The brain derived neurotrophic factor,
That's it.
BDNF. Yes.
That's it.
And that's, I know that in the research that increases when we do physical aerobic activity for the blood flow. That Wendy Suzuki, she's a neurobiologist, neuroscientist, and she's shown this activity in the hippocampus, which is the new learning and memory. And the amazing thing is that this activity, this brain derived neurotrophic factor, will increase in the levels, which causes an increase in neurogenesis, so new neurons. with the exercise. So now what she was showing, Carolyn Leaf, is with worship and prayer.
Worship too. Yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And when I was writing the chapter on unforgiveness, there's all kinds of I don't know if it's anecdotal evidence or there's probably studies. I mean, this isn't a scientific book, so that unforgiveness causes all kinds of problems in our bodies. It causes sickness. Holding a grudge
Yeah.
lowers your frequency, which makes you more prone to illness.
Hmm.
It's God tells us that we need to forgive, and not because he wants to be bossy, but because he knows it's for our own good to forgive. If we
Yeah.
want to live a healthy, well life,
Hmm.
his way is the way to do it.
And that is a really interesting way to look at it as well, because I think people are like, well, I guess it says in the Bible that we should forgive. It says we should pray. It says we should change our minds. But the reason being, one of the main reasons is because as God knows what's great for what our body needs and what our brain needs, for our brain to optimally function, there's these things like the forgiveness, managing your thoughts, taking control of what you're taking in. All of those things, like all those healthy habits, are things that really will make your brain and body healthier. And it's all the master design.
Yes, the master design. And I didn't write about this because I haven't really practiced fasting. I mean, I have fasted from things. I've fasted from, I did Whole 30, but there was nothing spiritual about it. I just did it because I wanted to lose some weight and break some sugar addiction. So I haven't practiced fasting, but I've read a lot about fasting now.
Mm-hmm.
And now science is proving that fasting causes your body to repair. It's good for your physical body.
Yes. Apoptosis, I can never say but it's where the cell death happens when it's basically starving some of, especially cancerous or precancerous cells. When people can do some type of fasting, it will cause the body to clear out, to kill off the things that are need to be killed off. And that's very crude way of me saying and explaining that. But of course, in Christian faith and specifically in Catholicism, they use fasting. Of course, we have Good Fridays for those who follow that we fast then. But many people will fast when they're praying for something as an intention. They'll fast as I don't know a lot about that portion of it, but I do know the health benefits of fasting.
And I think the Catholic, tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm not Catholic, but I think that also, don't you fast before you take
The
the
Eucharist.
Eucharist?
Yes, we're supposed to. We're supposed to. And I think it works when it's an early mass. But I think a lot of people don't, I would say a lot of Christian or Catholics don't follow that. But yes, we're supposed to not have anything. And then
Yeah.
I heard on a different podcast today, through it was a Christian Catholic podcast, that the Eucharist actually will stay in the body for around 15 minutes. So that's when we intentionally pray, not just as we get the host, but as we have it become part of our body, that we really take that time to pray for things. And that's a special time right after taking the Eucharist.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. It just, I want my granddaughters to know. I want my nieces to know. I want people to who read this book to know that God is for you.
Hmm.
He's not. sitting up there with the clipboard, just hoping you make a mistake. He
Mhm.
is for you. He has a beautiful life. Christ came so we could have an abundant life. And we've turned it into a checklist of rules, and it doesn't have to be. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful way to live.
Yes, and it can be so freeing, and I think it's needed even more so now. Not just with the young people, the young adults, but so many people that may be turning away from religion. And I mean, as in my journey back to my faith, it was the spending time in the morning, which I already had carved out time in the morning, but for me, it was adding in that reading the devotional and prayer. Like I shared, that you were instrumental in me getting back into the practice. So if I'd love for you to share some ideas of how to start a prayer practice, especially in the holiday season.
Okay. Well, something that is in the book that I learned was that I might get my numbers wrong because I have trouble remembering numbers, but I think it's 12 minutes of prayer every day for 8 weeks changes, if they've done scans, changes your brain. So that's when I heard that, I intentionally decided that I was going to do that. And I have been somebody that I would say I'm still not the best prayer. And I feel like my prayer life has been, I love to read the scripture, I love to study, but my prayer life had been puny. I
Mhm.
felt like I would start to pray, but I would fall asleep. If I prayed at night, I would fall asleep. If I prayed in the day, my mind just, I had a terrible time focusing. So I would encourage everybody to get a journal that they like and write out your prayers. This has changed things for me. So I like to do things as a practice, just so I would just invite your listeners to decide what works for them. Maybe they want to pray every day, write prayers every day. Maybe they want to write prayers 3 times a week. Maybe they want to write prayers once a week. But just decide that you want to do it and just start. And something else I love to do before I get out of bed is to pray through the Lord's Prayer, not just reciting it, but actually praying it and making it my own. And the 23rd Psalm. Those are both really meaningful passages to me, and I would offer that. Um, Max Lucado's written a bunch of stuff on prayer that's helpful. Um, I have in my other Bible, I don't think I have them written in here, 5 prayers that it's just like 5 words, but it's a good way to start your prayers. I also, if people sign up for my email list, they have access to my resource library. And in there are the 13 prayers that I talked about in Joyvember that have been so helpful to me.
Mhm. I kept them beside my morning chair, that I would, and also you have another resource. I think it's the Bible passages, some favorite
Yes,
Bible passages as well.
yes, the affirmations.
The affirmations, that's what it is.
Yes,
Yes.
those were a game changer for me. You probably have heard me say that I just randomly found that handout at a resale shop in Florida. And the person who was at the checkout said that this resale store was like the fundraiser for women who were recovering from addiction. They they fundraised for their lodging and stuff. And they said that they had the girls read these, it's 21 scriptures every morning. And I was so confused then about my identity in Christ. I was so bound up with people pleasing and just, I had such a love deficit, belief. And I came from a really good home. So and I have a husband who really loves me. But until you get the love connection with the Lord, right? At least for me, just things weren't right. So I said those 21 affirmations almost every morning for a year, looking in the mirror, saying them out loud. And they got from my head to my heart, and things started changing for me. So,
Mm, that's beautiful. And it's like, and it, by saying that you read them and said them and looked at yourself for a year, it takes a while. Not saying everything takes a year, but what the point being is to change our brain. And if we've been thinking a certain way for so long, it takes a while. We're like changing directions. I explain to my clients and patients that when you're thinking a certain way and doing certain things, it's like grooves in the road, right? In our brain, it's like, this is the way we do it. This is the way we do it. And then we switch our thinking, switch the way we're doing. They're very faint tracks to start off with, and we need to go over them over and over them to put the grooves in the neural pathways in the brain.
yes, and you have to believe it before it becomes part of you.
Yes. Yeah, be true enough because you could just say it where you're just saying it without it truly changing you.
Right. So you say it as a prayer.
Hmm. Hmm. So
So
if you're interested, listeners, in these resources, by going to Susan's website, you have a website, correct?
I
Or should,
do.
yeah.
It's a vintagefarmwife.com, but can I just send you the links?
Yes, yes,
I
and we'll
mean,
put it in the show notes for all of
okay.
that because
Yeah.
if they're wondering how to sign up for the newsletter, I want to make sure newsletter slash resources. Then you
Yes.
talked about your meditation, 5 meditations in the morning,
Yes.
and then your Facebook group. You're going to have a joy in December, or what is it?
Joy to the world
Joy
in
to the world,
December.
joy to the
Yes.
world. Yes,
Yeah.
great, great. And that starts in December.
Yes.
What else would you like to share with the listeners? The book, of course, we'll put the link in the show notes that you can find it through Amazon is always a great place to purchase.
Yes. That's where it's available, actually, if you're not
Okay.
local to me. And I also have a podcast called The Clean Heart Club, and I interview women. I love finding out how God's moving in the lives of women. And sometimes I interview men too. So they could also find me there.
Yes, the Clean Heart Club podcast.
Yes.
Yes, great. Well, here we are at the end. Anything else you want to share, or is
I
it?
would just like to say thank you. And also, if someone is listening who maybe has had a bad experience with the church, I wrote about my experience with the church that was less than ideal. So maybe that might be helpful for someone. And I would just encourage people to don't say no to something until you found out what you're saying no to. So
Mhm.
at least be curious enough to explore for yourself to see if what believers say is true is true.
Yes. It's a journey and it just starts with the first step and maybe the book is the first step or maybe connecting with Susan is the first step. So thank you so much, Susan. I think we could talk for a long time, but we
I
got
think
to
we could too.
go get dinner or something. I have to go grab make up some dinner right now.
Oh,
But thank you again and I will see you soon.
it was my pleasure. Bye.
Bye.